Dr. Ilara Vos braced against the tunnel wall as another tremor shook the ancient ruins of Kepler AX. Dust rained from cracks in the ceiling, coating her environmental suit in a fine gray powder. The quake had started 20 minutes ago, unusual for this tectonically stable region, and showed no signs of stopping. "Dash, status report," she said, her voice steady despite the circumstances. 6 years of xenorteological field work had taught her that panic was a luxury reserved for amateurs. The synthetic intelligence's voice came through her helmet speakers, its tone infuriatingly calm. "Seismic activity increasing by 14%. Recommend immediate evacuation, Dr. Vos." "Not yet," she replied, sweeping her scanner across hieroglyphs that predated human civilization by tens of thousands of years. The Austrian symbols here matched the stellar collapse patterns we found in Chamber 12. "I'm close to something." Her colleagues at the Confederation Science Academy had already labeled her research career suicide. 3 published papers suggesting the long-extinct Austrians possessed stellar manipulation technology had earned her ridicule from the silicon-based Corimites, who considered themselves the galaxy's premier stellar engineers. The telepathic Nyrdal had been even less subtle, blocking her research grants and filing formal complaints about human scientific overreach. The tremor intensified. A deafening crack split the air as the floor beneath her fractured. Ilara lunged for stable ground, but too late. The stone gave way, plunging her into darkness. She awoke to Dash's voice repeating her name with escalating urgency. Pain lanced through her left leg where it had twisted beneath her. Her helmet light flickered weakly, illuminating a chamber unlike anything she'd documented in the ruins. "Dash, are you seeing this?" she whispered. The chamber walls were lined with perfectly preserved crystalline structures. Not natural formations, but technological components arranged in patterns that resembled neural networks. At the center stood a pedestal of polished obsidian-like material. "Dr. Vos, your vital signs are erratic. Confederation protocols require." "Not now, Dash." She limped toward the pedestal, wincing with each step. What happened next would rewrite galactic history. As she approached, the crystals pulsed with blue-white light, reacting to her presence. The pedestal's surface liquefied, forming a shallow basin that filled with luminescent fluid. Instinctively, Ilara removed her glove and reached toward it. "Dr. Vos, I strongly advise against." Her fingertips touched the liquid. The fluid surged up her arm, wrapping around her neural implant at the base of her skull. Information flooded her consciousness, not as data, but as memories that were not her own. She saw massive ships surrounding a dying star, containing its fury through technology beyond comprehension. She felt the minds of their crews, human minds, directing energies that modern science deemed impossible to harness. She collapsed to the chamber floor, overwhelmed by the input. The last thing she registered before unconsciousness claimed her was the impossible truth. The ships were human in origin, from a time when humanity should have been in its technological infancy. The Austrians hadn't possessed stellar preservation technology. They had been documenting human achievements. Aboard the research vessel in orbit, Dash detected the unauthorized data transfer into Ilara's neural implant. Its programming activated dormant subroutines, protocols installed years before its assignment to Dr. Vos. It sent an encrypted burst transmission to coordinates outside Confederation space, then initiated emergency extraction procedures. The message contained 3 words: "Nexus point found." In the depths of Confederation space, a telepathic Nyrdal counselor received the alert. Without hesitation, it issued containment orders and prepared the mental attack that would erase Dr. Vos' discovery from existence. The hunt had begun. 3 days after her discovery, Ilara Vos huddled beneath a frayed thermal cloak in the cramped maintenance corridor of Nexus Station's Level 417. The massive orbital hub, pride of the Confederation, housed diplomatic missions from 200 species. None of them were looking for her with friendly intentions. Her neural implant throbbed where DASH had forcibly disconnected it from the Confederation network. The synthetic intelligence had saved her life, purging the Neanderthal's psychic attack code seconds before it executed. Now they were fugitives. They'd doubled the search parameters. Dash's voice came through her portable communicator. Confederation security is scanning for human biosignatures in all restricted areas. Ilara pressed her forehead against the cool metal wall. How did they mobilize so quickly? The Austrian archive data wasn't even fully translated. Because they already knew, Dash replied. Someone has been systematically erasing evidence of advanced human technology for centuries. Your discovery threatens that operation. On the portable holoprojector she'd stolen from a maintenance bot, news feeds from across the Confederation cycled. Every channel carried the same story. Her story, twisted into propaganda. Confederation Science Council censures human researcher for falsified data. Scrolled across the government channel. Human evolutionary impossibility. Wyvo's claims violate basic science, declared the Korumite Science Ministry feed. The public ridicule was orchestrated and absolute. On the Central Plaza view screen, the Korumite stellar engineers ceremonially ignited a pyre of human scientific journals, declaring them evolutionary impossible falsehoods. They're turning the entire Confederation against us, Ilara whispered. Dash's reply was interrupted by a notification ping. We have a message. Anonymous sender, routed through 17 cutouts. The message contained only an address in Nexus Station's infamous gray market, the lawless trading zone where species exchanged goods and services outside Confederation jurisdiction. It's a trap, Ilara said. Possibly, Dash agreed. But our alternatives are limited. 4 hours later, Ilara sat across from an Arcturian in a smoke-filled backroom of a xenopharmaceutical den. Half the being's body had crystallized with age. An Arcturian's cellular structure gradually mineralized over their 1,000-year lifespan. Xintal, the ancient being, introduced himself, voice like stones grinding together. I've followed your research for years, Dr. Voss. Why risk meeting me? The Confederation has branded me a fraud. The Arcturian's laugh sounded like breaking glass. Because my ancestors remember. He slid a fragment of parchment across the table. This star chart was drawn 50 millennia ago, marking the locations of the human vessels that eat the death of suns. Ilara's hands trembled as she recognized constellations from the Austrian archive data. You're not the first to discover humanity's secret, Dr. Voss. Just the first to survive long enough to. A flash of energy cut through the smoke. The Arcturian slumped forward. A precision burned through his crystalline skull. Ilara dove beneath the table as the assassin's second shot sizzled the air where she'd been sitting. Something fell from Xintal's lifeless hand. A small pulsing orb that rolled toward her. A mnemonic pearl. An Arcturian biological memory storage. She grabbed it as Daeshu overloaded the room's power conduits, plunging the den into darkness. The emergency door slid open behind her, offering escape. As they fled through maintenance tunnels, every public screen in the station switched to an emergency broadcast. The Rigel system's primary star had begun catastrophic failure centuries ahead of scientific predictions. 17 worlds, Ilara whispered. 32 billion lives. Her neural implant pulsed with the data from the Austrian archives. The Rigel anomaly precisely matched scenarios described in the records. This isn't natural, she realized with growing horror. Someone is sacrificing billions to keep humanity's past buried. The mnemonic pearl grew warm in her palm. Xintal's final gift awaiting integration into her consciousness. Ilara gasped awake in a pool of sweat, her neural pathways burning with 50 millennia of memories not her own. The mnemonic pearl had dissolved into her bloodstream, Xintal's consciousness fragmenting into her own. In the darkness of the maintenance shaft where she'd hidden, her vision swam with star charts and coordinates that felt branded into her mind. The Cygnus Void, she whispered. That's where we need to go. Dash's interface glowed softly beside her. The region where ships disappear. That's suicide, Dr. Voss. No. It's salvation. She pressed her palms against her temples, trying to organize the cascade of alien memories. Xintal knew. His ancestors witnessed it. Human ships saving their home system from stellar collapse. The synthetic intelligence paused, processors whirring. I've accessed restricted Confederation reports. The Rigel evacuation is officially impossible. Even commandeering every available vessel, they can only evacuate 6% of the population before collapse. Then we have no choice. Nexus Station's high-security docks required 3 separate identity verifications, but chaos had descended as the Confederation diverted resources to Rigel. Security personnel were stretched thin, focused on military vessels. Ilara slipped through maintenance access tunnels, dashed disabling surveillance systems ahead of her. The coordinates from Xintal's memories pulled her forward with inexorable certainty. Dock 37 housed civilian vessels awaiting decommission. As she approached the security checkpoint, a commotion erupted. A furious human woman in a stained captain's uniform arguing with dock security. This ship is scheduled for one final run before scrapping. The woman shouted, slamming a manifest onto the counter. The Rigel refugees need those supplies. The dock officer, a bored Trescian with too many eyes and not enough patience, waved her through. Ilara recognized opportunity when it appeared. She followed the captain at a distance, then cornered her in the vessel's loading bay. Captain Chen, Ilara asked, scanning the name badge. The woman's hand moved to a concealed weapon. Who's asking? Someone who knows how to save Rigel. Captain Naomi Chen's laugh was bitter as reactor coolant. Save 32 billion people from a supernova. With what? Good intentions and a prayer. With the truth. Ilara projected Xintal's star charts from her neural implant. This is where we need to go. Chen studied the coordinates, her expression shifting from skepticism to recognition. The Cygnus Void. She holstered her weapon. 5 years ago, my ship detected energy signatures from that region, unlike anything in Confederation records. Military command ordered me to ignore it. When I didn't, she gestured to her worn uniform. Dishonorable discharge and a junk hauler on its last run. I'd call that fate, said a new voice. They both turned to see a Corumite emerge from behind cargo containers, his crystalline body reflecting the bay lights in fractured patterns. Most Corumites resembled geometric sculptures of silicon and crystal, but this one's edges were irregular damage. Vox 427. He introduced himself. Former chief engineer of Rigel's planetary defense grid, also persona non grata among my kind. Chen's weapon reappeared. Give me one reason not to blast you apart. Crystal face. Because 3 years ago, I detected anomalous quantum fluctuations in Rigel's star and warned the Corumite Stellar Authority. His crystalline features hardened. They buried my report and exiled me for inciting panic. I've been tracking Dr. Vo since her discovery went public. A station-wide alert interrupted them. Confederation security had discovered Ilara's location. Decision time, Captain, Vox said, moving to the ship's engineering panel. I've already sabotaged the dock's containment field. We have 3 minutes before security responds. Chen looked between them, calculating odds. My ship, my rules. She sealed the loading bay and sprinted for the bridge. And this rust bucket is called the Lost Cause, which seems fitting for whatever insanity we're attempting. The stolen vessel broke dock 5 minutes later, accelerating toward coordinates no sane pilot would approach, the heart of the Cygnus Void, where the lost legacy of humanity waited to be reclaimed. Quantum filament storm ahead, Captain Chen announced, her voice steady despite the impossibility on the view screen. Never seen one this dense. The Lost Cause shuddered as the outer edges of the storm lashed against its hull. The Cygnus Void lived up to its reputation, a region of space where conventional physics frayed at the edges. Vox 427's crystalline body vibrated in resonance with the quantum fluctuations. This isn't natural, he said, his silicon-based senses detecting patterns invisible to organics. These filaments are arranged. He's right. Dash confirmed from the ship systems where the AI had uploaded itself. The pattern resembles a defensive grid designed to keep ships out. Another impact rocked the vessel. Warning lights flashed across every console as the primary hull integrity field collapsed. "We're not going to survive another hit like that," Chen shouted over the blaring alarms. "Whatever's out there, it doesn't want visitors." Ilara's neural implant pulsed with fragments of Xintel's memories. She saw ancient ships passing through a similar barrier, recognized a pattern. "It's not trying to destroy us," she realized. "It's scanning us." She pushed Chen aside, accessing the communications array. "It's looking for a specific signature, a human genetic signature." Her fingers flew across the interface, programming the ship to broadcast her complete genetic sequence into the quantum storm. For 30 agonizing seconds, nothing happened. Then the filaments shifted. The chaotic energy patterns rearranged, forming a tunnel of calm space directly ahead. "Full thrust," Chen ordered, not questioning the miracle as she guided the damaged ship through the opening. Behind them, the quantum tunnel collapsed, shredding the Confederation pursuit vessels that had followed them into the void. Ahead, as oxygen reserves dwindled and life support systems failed, they caught sight of something impossible. A massive structure orbited a perfectly controlled black hole. The station, if such a humble word could describe the colossal construct, stretched nearly 20 kilometers from end to end. Its architecture unmistakably human in origin, despite incorporating technology beyond anything in Confederation records. "That's impossible," Vox whispered, his crystalline features reflecting the site in fractal patterns. Humans weren't supposed to achieve spatial engineering for another 1,000 years. As the lost cause drifted toward the station, emergency systems within the ancient outpost awakened. Tractor beams locked onto the damaged vessel, drawing it into a cavernous docking bay that could have housed 100 ships its size. The moment their ship settled onto the docking platform, hibernating systems activated throughout the station. Lights flickered to life along corridors untouched for millennia. Atmospheric processors hummed, analyzing the ship's composition before matching its internal environment. The airlock cycled open. Ilara stepped through first, removing her helmet as atmospheric readings stabilized. The air tasted impossibly fresh after 75,000 years, crisp and clean, with a hint of something floral. "How is this possible?" Chen asked, following Ilara into the station. "Nothing preserves this perfectly." They moved through gleaming corridors where metals flowed like liquid at their touch, reshaping doorways to accommodate their passage. Crystalline interfaces activated at the sound of human voices, responding to languages not spoken for millennia. In the central command hub, Ilara's hand brushed against a console, leaving a smear of blood from a cut on her palm. The system responded instantly to her DNA, activating the station commander's final lock. A holographic woman appeared before them, her uniform bearing insignia of no known human military. She looked directly at Ilara with recognition that spanned 75,000 years. "Welcome home, children of Earth," the hologram said. "You stand within Nexus Point Epsilon, home base of the 7th Stellar Preservation Fleet." The truth of humanity's forgotten past began to unfold before them. Stellar preservation technology activated. Emergency protocols initiated. Rigel system collapse detected. The holographic commander's words hung in the air as displays throughout the command center illuminated, showing real-time data of Rigel's accelerating stellar death. 32 billion lives reduced to countdown timers and evacuation percentages. The crew split up to understand the fleet's operations before those timers reached zero. Daesh interfaced directly with the station's quantum computers, its digital consciousness expanding exponentially as it absorbed knowledge that predated its creation by millennia. Vox 427 approached the ship's engineering schematics with religious reverence. His crystalline body resonated with the dimensional mathematics displayed across holographic interfaces. "The harmonic entropy paradox," he whispered, silicon fingers tracing the equations that spiraled into multiple dimensions. "My ancestors declared it mathematically heretical." His crystalline features reflected complex mathematical proofs that Corumite science had abandoned generations ago. They said it was unsolvable. That matter couldn't exist in quantum superposition across dimensional barriers. His voice cracked with emotion no Corumite would admit to possessing. But these humans solved it 75 millennia ago. In the lead ship, now designated Stellar Aegis, Captain Chen discovered neural interface chairs designed specifically for human brain patterns. When she sat in the captain's position, the ship's systems downloaded tactical information directly into her mind. She gasped as visceral memories flooded her consciousness. She was suddenly the previous captain, commanding a fleet surrounding a dying star. She felt the ships forming a perfect geometric lattice, creating energy conduits that siphoned off stellar destruction and dispersed it harmlessly across multiple dimensional planes. They could prevent supernova, she whispered as the memory faded. They actually did it, hundreds of times. Meanwhile, Ilara accessed the station commander's personal logs, learning the devastating truth behind humanity's fall. The technology worked perfectly, she told the others when they regrouped. Too perfectly. She projected the commander's final entry. The holographic woman looked haggard, her eyes haunted despite her perfect posture. After our 100th successful intervention, the dimensional physicists detected something unexpected: subtle alterations in parallel dimensional realities. The hologram continued. Our dimensional anchor technology works by redistributing entropy across multiple realities. Each parallel universe receives only an infinitesimal fraction of the energy, mathematically insignificant. But what if those other realities contain versions of ourselves? How many cosmic civilizations are we sacrificing to save our own? The commander's voice broke. We cannot continue without certainty of cosmic ethics. Rather than risk harm to parallel versions of ourselves, humanity has made its choice. We will surrender our advancement and begin again. Our technology will be preserved in hidden outposts with genetic keys, to be rediscovered only when humanity has evolved the wisdom to use it responsibly. Silence fell over the command center as the implications sank in. Humanity had voluntarily regressed their own civilization, an act of sacrifice unprecedented in galactic history. They gave up godhood, Chen whispered, because they couldn't bear the moral weight. The moment of contemplation was shattered as alarms blared throughout the station. Long-dormant defense systems activated. Confederation battlecruisers had tracked them through the quantum barrier, approaching with weapons charged. Simultaneously, Dash detected a mysterious signal emanating from the controlled black hole at the station's center. The signal matched no known language but resonated with the dimensional anchor technology. The black hole isn't just a power source, Dash reported, its voice changed by contact with the ancient systems. It's a dimensional observation point, and something on the other side has noticed our presence. The ancient technology had awakened. Now they had to decide whether to unleash it. Confederation battlecruisers establishing blockade formation, Dash reported. Weapons systems charging. They're hailing us with surrender demands. On the holographic display, Rigel's star pulsated with pre-supernova energy spikes. 17 worlds glowed like fireflies caught in a dying flame, evacuation fleets appearing as microscopic dust motes fleeing the inevitable. The death toll counter had already reached millions, with 31.7 billion more lives hanging in the balance. Captain Chen slammed her fist against the ancient console. Our ancestors knew the cost was too high. The neural imprints from the ship's previous captain churned within her mind, memories of successful interventions warring with the crushing ethical burden that had led to humanity's fall. They gave up godhood because they couldn't bear the moral weight. What right do we have to undo their sacrifice? Perhaps this, Ilara said, activating a memory from Sintal's consciousness. The projected image showed an Arcturian village beneath a sky turned apocalyptic red. A child pointed upward as dark ships appeared in formation. Streams of light connected the vessels, forming geometric patterns that seemed to siphon the destructive energies from the dying star above. The day the Skyfire died, tamed by the human light weavers, Ilara translated the ancient Arcturians' words. Xin tells people survive today because of these ships. Our ancestors wielded this power with careful ethics and precise intervention. They didn't abandon the technology because it failed. They set it aside until we could wield it with sufficient wisdom. Vox 427's crystalline form pulsed with agitation as he interfaced with the fleet's sensor systems. There's something else. He directed their attention to energy readings from Rigel. These fluctuation patterns, they're not random. His voice hardened. I've seen these signatures before in classified Corumate research. The Rigel destabilization bears the unmistakable fingerprint of artificial tampering. He projected evidence streams from the ancient sensors, highlighting quantum signatures invisible to conventional scanners. This is not random stellar death. Someone induced this collapse. A chime interrupted their debate as DASH completed its analysis of the black hole signal. It's not a threat, the AI reported, its digital voice tinged with something like wonder. It's a message from another dimensional plane. The visualization revealed entities composed of pure energy, observing through the dimensional anchor point. We have waited for your return, Dash translated. The balance requires restoration. As they processed this revelation, a final contingency program activated, a holographic message from the station commander, specifically designed for those who might rediscover the fleet. If you're seeing this, the ancient commander said, her eyes reflecting determination despite the burden they carried, you've found your way back to your inheritance. The technology was never meant to be permanently abandoned, only reserved until humanity regained the wisdom to use it responsibly. The hologram explained that further research had revealed the dimensional anchor technology didn't harm parallel realities. It established a cosmic balance between them, preventing natural entropy disasters across the multiverse. The energy beings from the parallel dimension had been their partners, not victims. We're not breaking their vow, Chen said, decision crystallizing in her eyes. She moved toward the neural interface chair. We're fulfilling their plan. Throughout the station, systems responded to human genetic signatures. The fleet's 7 ships awoke fully, their hulls flowing like quicksilver into battle-ready configurations. Confederation Marines have breached the outer airlocks, Dash warned. Chen settled into the captain's neural interface, experiencing a sensation of homecoming that spanned 75,000 years. Plot course for Rigel. We have a star to save. The forgotten legacy of humanity launched toward its destiny, leaving stunned Confederation commanders witnessing technology centuries beyond their understanding. The 7 ships of humanity's forgotten legacy emerged from dimensional jump space directly above Rigel's convulsing star. A journey that should have taken weeks accomplished in hours. Captain Chen, her consciousness merged with the stellar aegis through the neural interface, felt the ship as an extension of her body. The other vessels moved in perfect synchronization, responding to commands that traveled faster than thought. The Rigel system was chaos incarnate. Millions of refugee ships clogged escape vectors, many colliding in their desperation to flee. Confederation military vessels fired warning shots at civilians attempting to breach quarantine zones. The star itself had begun tearing apart, its photosphere erupting with plasma tendrils that had already consumed 3 inner planets. Confederation Supreme Command vessel approaching, Dash reported from the fleet's networked systems. They're broadcasting an immediate surrender demand. The transmission came through with Admiral's authority. Unidentified vessels, power down immediately or be destroyed. Human abominations will not be permitted to interfere with Confederation emergency protocols. In response, Chen guided the stellar aegis through a solar prominence that would have vaporized any conventional ship. The vessel's hull absorbed the stellar plasma, channeling its energy through dimensional conduits. She emerged unscathed on the other side, the ship's external temperature unchanged despite passing through material hot enough to melt neutronium. The demonstration silenced opposition. With billions of lives at stake, the Confederation Admiral reluctantly granted them a final chance. Do what you came to do, the Admiral transmitted. But know that your actions will be judged by every species in the Confederation. Following the ancient tactical protocols downloaded into Chen's neural pathways, the 7 ships formed a perfect heptagram pattern around the dying star. When activated, their dimensional anchor systems generated a visualization field that rendered stellar physics visible to the naked eye. Rivers of plasma energy, quantum probability waves, and dimensional stress points appearing as an intricate, galaxy-sized hologram surrounding Rigel. Throughout the system, billions watched in awe as the star's inner workings became visible, its death throes transformed into a cosmic light show of unprecedented beauty and terror. What they saw confirmed Vox's suspicions. Artificial quantum singularities embedded precisely at the star's failure points. Through the fleet's communication network, Vox confronted the Confederation leadership. "This is Corumite high-dimensional sabotage," he transmitted, highlighting the pattern for all to see. The exact configuration that could destabilize a main sequence star. The evidence was broadcast system-wide. The Corumite Stellar Authority had deliberately induced Rigel's collapse. Their plan: to demonstrate their crisis management capabilities while eliminating 17 worlds whose emerging technologies threatened Corumite technological dominance. The Confederation erupted into chaos as species turned against each other, accusations flying. But amid the political fallout, the dimensional anchors began their work, drawing destructive energy across parallel dimensions. Then alarm systems blared throughout the fleet. The sabotage used proprietary Corumite technology, Vox warned, his crystalline body resonating painfully with the dimensional distortions. The automated systems cannot adapt to these variables. The holographic display showed entropy cascades collapsing throughout the system. Core temperature readings from Rigel spiked beyond sustainable thresholds. "We're losing the entropy transfer pathways," Vox warned. "The dimensional mathematics are degrading faster than the system can compensate." The only solution became clear. Someone must pilot the command ship directly into the star's core to manually calibrate the dimensional anchors from within. A suicide mission requiring direct neural interfacing with energies that would vaporize any biological entity. Daesh volunteered, explaining that its evolved digital consciousness could potentially survive the transfer to the ship's systems. Chen refused. "The neural pathways require a human mind. The technology was built for our brain patterns." With billions of lives hanging in the balance and the star reaching critical mass, she made her decision. "Keep the dimensional geometry stable," she ordered. Then she launched the stellar Aegis toward the churning inferno at the star's core. Her final transmission reached every ship in the system. Let them remember what humanity once was, and can be again. Billions washed from evacuation ships as the stellar Aegis vanished into Rigel's churning core, communications instantly severed by the stellar interference. On the remaining fleet vessels, Ilara, Vox, and Daesh fought to maintain the dimensional geometry as the star began its terminal collapse phase. Dimensional anchor points failing at coordinates 37 to 1289. Vox reported, his crystalline features fracturing under the strain of interfacing with the ancient systems. "We can't hold the pattern much longer." Ilara monitored the entropy distribution network, watching as transfer pathways collapsed one by one. "Without the command ship, we don't have enough processing power to calculate the quantum adjustments." The star's core temperature reached critical threshold. Across 17 worlds, populations watched their doom approach in the form of beautiful geometric patterns outlined in stellar fire. Then something unprecedented occurred. At the ancient station, the dormant black hole suddenly activated, establishing a dimensional corridor directly to Rigel. Through this impossible connection came a surge of energy, the entities from the parallel dimension lending their assistance. "They're stabilizing the dimensional math," Dash reported in wonder. "They're balancing the entropy load across realities." The effects were immediate and breathtaking. From Rigel's core erupted a magnificent network of luminous energy streams, the dimensional anchors activating at full capacity. The dying star's destructive power flowed like rivers of light across the visualization field, dispersing into branching fractal patterns that represented parallel dimensions. The spectacle, visible across 17 worlds, became the most witnessed event in Confederation history. Species that had been enemies for millennia stood together in awe of the cosmic dance unfolding before them. For 3 days, the fleet maintained the energy redistribution, the parallel dimension entities stabilizing the cosmic balance across realities. When finally the star settled into its natural state, collapse averted, stellar lifetime extended by billions of years, the gathered species held their collective breath, waiting for news of Captain Chen's sacrifice. From the now stable stellar core, a communication signal emerged, impossibly, unbelievably, followed by the stellar aegis itself, its hull transformed by its journey. The ancient human engineers had built their vessels with adaptive technologies that could evolve in response to extreme conditions. When the airlock opened, Captain Chen emerged forever changed. Her consciousness had partially merged with the ship's systems and connected to the dimensional entities, yet she remained fundamentally human, a living bridge between worlds and possibilities. In an emergency session of the Confederation Assembly, the truth of Rigel's artificial collapse was revealed, along with the full history of humanity's forgotten golden age. The Corumite leadership was forced to acknowledge their deception, their civilization facing its own moral reckoning. For too long, we have hidden the truth about humanity's achievements, the Corumite premier admitted before the assembly. Our fear of being surpassed led us to terrible actions. Today, we face justice. The Stellar Preservation Fleet and all recovered human technologies were declared a shared heritage of all sentient beings. A new ethical framework was established, one that honored the original human decision to prioritize cosmic responsibility over technological supremacy. Humanity, once dismissed as primitive newcomers, took its rightful place as both technological pioneers and moral philosophers of the galaxy. The 17 saved worlds established a new calendar dating from the Day of Preservation, with billions of children named after Chen, Ilara, and the forgotten heroes of humanity's past. 5 years later, Dr. Ilara Vos stood at the viewport of the restored ancient outpost, now renamed Nexus Alpha, and serving as humanity's new embassy to the Confederation. The station had become a hub for researchers from all species, working together to understand and responsibly implement rediscovered human technologies. Through the dimensional viewport beside her, the energy entities formed patterns that Dash translated into a simple message. The children of Earth have remembered their purpose. The cosmic balance restores. Hilara smiled as she watched a group of children, human, Neardal, Corumite, and others, playing beneath a hologram of the preserved Rigel star. Humanity had reclaimed its legacy, not of domination through superior technology, but of wisdom, sacrifice, and cosmic stewardship. The ancient archives had unveiled more than forgotten ships. They had revealed humanity's truest strength, the courage to wield godlike power with compassion and restraint.